The Middle East is full of mysteries, but few are as paradoxical as Israel. A small country, constantly at war, and yet remarkably wealthy and technologically advanced. How does a nation under near perpetual threat become one of the world's richest states? Welcome to Fact Files. Today we explore a paradox, a nation that thrives amid endless conflict, Israel. We'll trace history, examine economics, and confront the geopolitical forces that shaped this unusual success story. For more than 4 decades, Israel has been entangled in regional conflicts, sometimes on 2 fronts at once. Yet, against those odds, its economy soared. In 2023, GDP per capita neared $52,000, higher than its neighbors and comparable to some of Europe's wealthiest countries. Ordinarily, war drains an economy. Infrastructure crumbles, investment flees, and growth stalls. Israel's experience breaks that pattern. Even in times of escalated conflict, markets reacted strangely. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange surged by 22%, reaching record highs. One major factor is geopolitics, namely the United States. Since the late 1960s, the U.S. has supplied Israel with more than $251 billion in military and economic aid. In recent years, a significant share of U.S. foreign assistance has flowed to Israel. That aid is not only financial. In diplomatic arenas like the United Nations, American support often shields Israel from sanctions and resolutions that could cost billions. But money and diplomacy only explain part of the story. Israel's economy is engineered to function under pressure. From 1948 onward, defense shaped national priorities. Over decades, military needs spurred technological innovation, and a global defense export industry was born. In 2023, defense exports alone were worth roughly $13 billion, and several Israeli firms rank among the world's top defense companies. Yet, military spending eats nearly 10% of GDP, creating a chronic fiscal tension between security and public finance. Politics complicate the balance. Leaders often face hard trade-offs: economic reform versus coalition stability. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalitions, for example, have sometimes made it politically costly to cut subsidies or reform spending, particularly for powerful religious communities. This unwritten social contract has held. Populations tolerate insecurity when prosperity and services persist. But how long can that bargain last? To understand the present, we go back to Israel's founding in 1948. Survival defined the early state. An agrarian, state-heavy economy focused on defense. Wars like the Six-Day War in 1967 and the Yom Kippur War in 1973 forced rapid military and technological adaptation. A severe financial crisis in the 1980s ultimately catalyzed change. Privatization, foreign investment, and the birth of a high-tech sector. By the 1990s, incentives drew global tech giants, research hubs from Intel to Google, and innovation shifted from survival to competitive advantage. Today, Israel invests about 5% of GDP in research and development, roughly double the U.S. rate. Immigration brought nearly 1 million skilled workers from the former Soviet Union, expanding talent pools. Another unique driver is mandatory military service. Elite cyber and intelligence units train citizens with technical skills that later fuel startups and technology firms. It's estimated that a high share of Israel's tech sector founders are veterans of these units, turning military training into entrepreneurial advantage. Yet the present contains new stress. Recent conflicts with Gaza, Lebanon, and regional tensions with Iran have strained public finances. Projected budget deficits have surged, estimates rising from around 4.6% to near 10%, while the weekly cost of war has reached hundreds of millions of dollars. Late 2023 figures showed sharp contractions in GDP, steep declines in consumer spending, and a collapse in private investment in the immediate aftermath of intense fighting. Despite shocks, Israel retains fiscal buffers, debt levels below 60% of GDP, substantial foreign reserves, and a current account surplus in the tens of billions. But if defense costs rise while political reforms remain stalled, the question of long-term sustainability becomes urgent. Beyond Israel's borders, a larger shadow looms: Iran. Tensions between Israel and Iran have shaped decades of proxy conflict, strategic calculation, and regional alignment. Historically, before 1979, Iran and Israel quietly cooperated. The Islamic Revolution rewrote that script, recasting Iran as an ideological adversary and sponsor of regional militias. In an escalation that drew global attention, the scale of aerial operations and precision strikes demonstrated the stakes at play and the readiness of powerful militaries to act. These campaigns are not merely tactical, they are strategic messages, meant to alter timelines and deter programs perceived as existential threats. On the other side of the ledger lies a grim doctrine some analysts call the Samson option, an undeclared deterrent meant to dissuade existential threats. Whether real or rhetorical, such doctrines shape calculations, increasing the stakes of regional escalation and reinforcing the fragile logic of deterrence. What began as a regional conflict now pulls in global actors. The United States, tied closely to Israel, weighs its own strategic red lines, including preventing a confirmed nuclear weapon in Iran. Any major attack on Israeli cities or a successful Iranian nuclear breakout could escalate beyond the region, risking broader confrontation among world powers. Israel's story is one of resilience and contradiction. Economic dynamism forged in the furnace of insecurity. History shows a pattern of recovery and reinvention. Yet the present moment tests that pattern. Rising defense costs, political constraints, and escalating regional threats. The question is not just whether Israel can sustain its success, it's whether the world can manage the risks that success both creates and depends upon. Thank you for watching Fact Files. If you found this examination insightful, like, subscribe, and share. And tell us, what part of this paradox surprised you most? Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.